There we go. Hello. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. My name is Brandon Waltons. I'm the senior editor of Texas Scorecard. I want to thank everybody for coming out. This is, like you said, this is the third time I've gotten to come down here and do this. And I'll tell you, it's always nice. I cover a lot of stuff that happens, just down the road in Austin, but it's always nice to come to a place like Bastrop that some say it's a conservative stronghold. I've heard that thrown around a few times. And so I do want to thank everybody. Like she said, we're going to be trying to get to as much as we can. Obviously, we've got a lot of candidates here, and we've got a number of questions that have been submitted ahead of time, but we're not going to be able to get to all of them. I do encourage. I know a lot of the candidates will be here. Some of them have booths, so they'll be around the room. So if your question isn't asked or you have something you want to ask the candidates, I encourage you to go speak with them. But for right now, we're going to start off with the governor race. So I want to invite the gubernatorial candidates to come up to the stage. And we will start out with a 2-minute introduction. And if you could, because there's 5 of y'all here, I believe, I want to kind of maybe wedge in a little bit of a question into the introductions. If you could each introduce yourself and say what are the top 3 priorities you would have heading into office if you were elected governor. So this mic, I believe, should work, and we'll pass it down.
So this is the 2 minutes?
Yes, 2 minutes, yeah.
I'm Bob Akil, born in Houston, mechanical engineer, class of 81, Texas A&M. Worked in a space program, worked for Petrochem for a while, and my top 3 would be say no to data centers. They're robbing all our water, and we're going to just wake up one day and, all the data centers took all our water. Number 2, I would say it's not about Mars. We're losing a golden opportunity. We're letting all the space assets resource go to one company or one man. And it should have been like oil. It should have been a Texas resource. So we should repeal the 2012 Space Tourism Act and open a new act that lets a Norway kind of fund or a Alaska kind of fund where we share the resource of access to space among Texans. And that would end up being about $2,000 per month per Texan with the with what low Earth orbit internet's going to provide to the company that's going to seize that monopoly in another 2 years. I would also do Heal South Texas. I would set up a fund for a small tax on patented drugs to fund research, FDA quality research on drugs that are not patentable, but would actually be game changers for making us healthier. And they have not been looked at till today because the people with big pharma don't want us to know about those easy drugs to take that'll keep us well.
So if you could pass the mic down, yeah.
I'm just testing the microphone right now. Oh, thank you. I'm Father Arturo Espinosa, governor candidate in Texas, professional chemical engineer. This man is asking me for my 3 priorities right now. I'm going to tell you about my Millennium Plan, which is, I have it right here. It's a book that I'm writing, and I'm writing it, and I'm publishing it as I write it. The first priority that I have is the truth. Always the truth. Everybody scares about that word, the truth. I define it this way. Merriam-Webster simply defines it as a noun. And I define it this way. I disclose the truth about myself, what I've done, what I'm going to do, and what I will do. That is one priority of mine for my life. I do want to go to heaven. The priority also is research and development. Research and development put a lot of effort, a lot of bills written by me and others into research and development. First one is the truth. The second one is research and development. Build, this is the third one. Build all here in Bastrop County. Build it here, build it in Texas, and build it in the United States. I am Arturo Espinosa, and I'm a governor candidate, also a chemical engineer. Professional.
Well, good evening. It's great to be back here. I was here 4 years ago when I was running for comptroller, and the results of that race where you are able to now elect a representative on your appraisal board of directors. So I was happy to be able to get that done. This time I'm running because you're paying too much in taxes. My passion is you pay less taxes. One of the things I'm looking at is a 1% sales tax cut. That can be done and that can be effective. And on September 1st of 2027, you can be paying 1% less on every taxable purchase you make. That's 1% of inflation, right off the top in Texas. When you go through there and you look at your property taxes, there's a couple of things that you can do. And one is we can say any property tax rate increase has to be voted on by the voters. It has to be approved. We need to go through there and say your tax appraisal can only go up by the rate of inflation. And that's for commercial and residential. These are things that have to get done to start reducing the amount of the ramp of increase of our property taxes. We go through there and we take a look at our education. The current appointed Texas Education Agency Commissioner has been there for 10 years. 10 years, and what has he had to show for it? Not increased test scores for our children. That individual should be accountable to the parents and the taxpayers. All right, to be able to go through there in this very room and have to tell you what they're running for and why they want to be your education commissioner because they want to have DEI, they want to have cross-dressers in the school, they want to have these nasty books. No, that's not going to get elected. This person has been there for 10 years, has not increased our education results, and we need to be doing something about that, and that's how I would do that. My website is goodgovernance.today. Look forward to your questions, and it's been a great meeting some of you folks beforehand. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Good evening. I just drove up from Austin. I'm your elected official. I serve on the Texas State Board of Education. It's my greatest honor to be here with you this evening. I think this is such a privilege to be able to run for governor of Texas. And I want to explain to you my why. My why is because we have children who cannot read and write. And we pat ourselves on the back as if we're doing something good for them. We are not. I sit on the board, and you know what? There must be an imminent threat here for me to get off of that seat and to run for such a position as this. But let me tell you something. As I've been studying the greatest generation of this great nation, you know what they had? They had the same family values, and they believed in education and hard work. And our children today, are they ready to lead this state and this nation? Why wouldn't we invest in our children? Why wouldn't we invest in their lives? Not only am I passionate about the children, but I am also passionate about our liberty. The principles of liberty and freedom must remain in the state of Texas. We are a sovereign state, and we need to keep it that way. From the position that I'm sitting in right now, I understand how government works. My goal for running is, one, to fix the education system. That's first. Second, it is to make sure that we uphold the Constitution. We defend it and we enforce it. The Constitution is black and white. There is no gray area. It's either right or it's wrong. Something about me that you should know. I want you to know this. I am committed. I am committed. I might look different. I might sound different in this party, but I'm the right one. I understand people. I come from the people, of the people, by the people. And I hope to earn your vote. You have 3 years of history to watch online of my voting history and how I fight to defend what is right. God bless you, and thank you for being here this evening.
Thank you. And Evelyn, if you want to hold on to that microphone, we've got time for a few questions. I want to remind you, keep your answers at 1 minute or less, so that we can at least get 2 or 3 of these in. One question that it keeps coming up here is, would you support and sign legislation to ban Sharia law in Texas? Start there. We'll go back around.
All right, absolutely. I think that's a no-brainer. We are the United States of America, and we are a sovereign nation. It is because of our Constitution that things are not in a chaotic state of form. With Sharia law, you cannot come into our nation. We have a foreign entity or foreign people who would come into our nation and would try to assert their laws. And that's a conflict with freedom. We know that there's a conflict with freedom. I don't discriminate against anyone. But when it comes to Texans first, that's what our priority must be. I think that our governor in handling this situation was a day late and a dollar short, if you will. We have not come through as far as protecting our communities the way that we should have. And there's a stronghold now. And this is not the only stronghold we have around. The one I'm referring to is Epic City. They changed their name since then. But no, in response to your answer, I am against Sharia law. It goes against our freedom. It goes against our liberties. And it is something that I see Texas are standing against. And I support that.
So the march, yeah, if you hit a mic on the march or whoever.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer. No Sharia law, the Constitution, and the laws that emanate out of the Constitution. But we do have a moral fabric problem, and we do need to get the Bible back into accessibility. Right now, we're like other countries were not too long ago, where you'd be put in prison for a Bible. We have had no access to the Bible since the early 60s. And it's really showing our children have lost their moral compass. I would be for setting up parent zones that are like public parks right in the middle of schools and allow parents to have Bible literacy education where they can learn to read using Bible content. And it would not be a conflict with separation of church and state because it would be in a public zone.
Thank you. I'm very nervous to answer this question, but I must answer it truthfully. I know that in our Constitution we have freedom of religion, and we're a free nation. I know that anybody that is abusing anybody, that is going beyond the law, that is going beyond what we consider truthful. We must not engage in automatic assumptions. I would want to meet with these people and get to know them a little better. I am always for the law, and I want to bring justice back to my country, back to the American system. That's what I want to do. Bring justice back.
Well, if you go to my website, goodgovernance.today, I have a whole section called No Sharia Subculture. Number one, if you go through there and like to tell these people, you've already demonstrated that you found this place superior to where you're coming from. Because you got here, you came here of your own free will. So you're already voting, right, of what your approval is of our system. And we're based on a Christian, whether you like it or not, we're based on a Christian system. And so that is what you need to understand when you come here into this country. And we are a free country. And we're a free country because we know the truth, because the truth shall set you free. And who is the way, the light, and the truth, right? Jesus Christ. So there's no denying who we are. There's no denying the Christian foundations of our country. And when you come here, all right, be prepared to understand you can do your customs, you can do your religion, but you cannot subjugate our court system, our judicial system, right, to try to bring in a subculture like they're establishing in Minneapolis and also in Europe, which is tearing them apart.
If you can hang on to that microphone, Mark, ask a question here, and we can start with you since you've got it. During the last legislative session, the legislature passed a big school choice program that's set to go into effect in the fall. What are your views on the school choice program that passed the legislature last session?
The school choice system that they put in place is not what we had asked for. We'd asked for money follow the child, and we didn't get money follow the child. We've got some weird contraption, all right, and they built a whole nother education structure right inside the comptroller's office. So now we've got the Department of Education. Now we're also going to have this subculture thing going on in the Texas comptroller's office. And this person is going to be going through and sitting out and managing that system. So to me, one of the things that we need to do, if a comptroller who's elected can run our private education system, then I say more evidence of why our public education commissioner should be elected.
But yes, Evelyn, if you want to grab the microphone, we'll pass it down.
So very much. Love this question. I love the principles of the Republican Party. That's how I left the Democrat Party. I believe in freedom. I believe in limited government. I believe in a strong family unit. I believe in free enterprise. If you don't work, you don't eat. And it is because of these principles that I run as a Republican. As such, what the school choice bill is not is freedom. We had true freedom before the government tried to intrude on our rights and choices of how to teach our children and what to teach them. This is universal education. Anything universal, run away from. Universal health care was a failure, and so will universal education, because there's always going to be strings tied to any time the government gives us money. And we're pretending to think that we have a friend in the education department. Let me tell you something. Your problems aren't at the public school. They start in legislation. They start over there with bureaucrats like where I came from at TEA, who are making decisions that in fact impair your life. So what do I think about the Education Savings Fund? Now what has happened is that the government is now coming to our school choices, our homeschool and our private school choices. We need to get it out. Let's repeal it.
Oh, thank you. I'm here on May 3, 2025. Governor Abbott passed a signed bill 2 into law establishing major schools choices programs in Texas for the 2026-27 school year. For Education Freedom Act. It creates an educational savings account program with $1 billion in funding, allowing families to use state funds for private school tuition, therapist, and educational materials. He's creating a fund. I got 30 seconds. $1 billion on education. I'm all for that. Research and development at every level. We need to build and we need to create. We need to start establishing our own economic base based on 15 seconds, based on construction, based on building, and based on know-how that we know how. We know how. Our children know how. Our students know how. Our workers know how, in order to come out of this. Stop. Thank you so much. 1 minute.
Bob Akil, I forgot to mention my website is hisensreader.org, and you just put in /Bob and you get me. I started that Literacy for the World project about 28 years ago when I was living in Russia, seeing that there was such need for people that had 7,000 different mother tongues to be able to learn to read. We have the same problem here. Fourth grade is like dismal. Kids just don't have an on-ramp to success. Do I think that the money that's being floated out there is consequential to help the problem? No, I think we need to get back to the Bible, because then kids will have better home life. 50% failures in families is not producing a good atmosphere for kids. The other thing is, if everyone had $2,000 per month in their pockets, then they could afford their own teacher, because that would be, for a family of 4, that would be a lot of money, enough to fund their own teacher. We're letting that resource go to waste.
There we go. That's the time there. We got time for one more question, and you can keep the microphone there and we'll pass it down. Last question here. What are your qualifications and or background to deal with major emergencies like weather, riots, shootings, etc.?
When I worked in the chemical plant, I researched chemical aerosol knockdown capability to help the people of Texas City to not be overrun by hydrogen fluoride aerosol clouds going over the city. We went out to the Nevada test site. We did the testing of it. So my head from the very beginning of my career has been on public safety. When I saw the rockets were being launched from Boca Chica, I'd had the NASA background and I'd worked in the failure modes and effects analysis area of NASA. And I said, this is not good. People are going to be put at risk. So my idea about public safety is to not let something get designed that's going to fail. And we have those things happening all the time, whether it's in a space flight. Texas should be taking over the space program and getting that money to themselves because they would be taking an eye on safety. And the present entities are not doing that.
Thank you. Luna.
I am messing up the order here. I was going to look some on the internet, but I didn't have time. Now, this position that I'm seeking, governor, it allows me an army. It does. The chief, our president has an army behind him now. What I'm going to do with any criminal, any injustice, any suffering that these people are creating against me, others, and any family member that I know, I want to talk to them, really. I want to have access to them before I put them in jail, before I destroy them, before I do anything to them. I'm going to be coming in first. I'm not going to sit in one office sending our young men into harm's way while I'm drinking coffee or I'm going on to vacation. I'm going to do this. I want to do this for you. I want to do this for me, simply because I am tired of suffering.
That's our time. Thank you. Yes. Mark?
Well, one thing is I've already got involved many, many times when we've had catastrophes, when we had Harvey, when we had the floods over in Kerrville, in those areas. So I've spent a lot of time out there mucking out houses and doing the things that it takes and that kind of background. So I've worked with the various groups that do come out there. As far as being able to coordinate things, it's just a matter of using my management skills of 35 years in the wireless industry and pioneering wireless data type applications. So being able to go through there and coordinate and getting ahead of things, making sure to be in front of these problems, trying to go through there and find out how hardened are some of our other counties, working with the counties closely, working with their emergency responses, make sure they're well adequate and well funded to be able to go through there and respond. Because to me, I kind of become the orchestra conductor, right? To make sure that we have people going, because that's what a manager does. That's what somebody who's head of a catastrophe, right, is to make sure the resources are in the right place at the right time.
Thank you. For this, I would say this: committed. I'm committed. I'm a committed servant leader. And as such, I believe in understanding what the problems are of each community, each county. I think that is the responsibility of a governor, to understand what the problems of the people are and to listen. I think we know how to best run our lives. I think we know what it takes in order to fix the problems that are in our lives. Security is a huge issue right now, not just physical security, but cognitive security. When I look at the ASI, the artificial superhuman intelligence, that is something that we need guardrails of. Anything that is smarter than a human being, you are in jeopardy of something called transhumanism. We need to make sure that we have guardrails up for that. We also need to make sure that the criminals that got into our country get out of our country and our state are out, identified and gone. We need a hard path for citizenship. If you want to come into this nation, this is how you become a citizen. You need to come over here the legal way. I intend to protect the grid system, protect our fresh water and our resources. Thank you so much for your time and attention.
Thank you all of you. Yes. Take that. Please give them all one more round of applause. Thank you. As we move it on. Yes, right out there. Yes, we got to move on. Like I said, I think these candidates will be around here if you want to ask them any of your questions. But we're going to move on to the next portion of our program here, which is Lieutenant Governor, and we have Perla Munoz Hopkins here. So I will give the microphone to Perla, and you can give her a round of applause as she gets here on the stage. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Perfect. If you want to give a 2-minute introduction, then we'll get to a couple questions here.
I don't know if they were going to maybe change the slide because the lieutenant governor does not have that salary. So I want to make sure we all know. There we go, 7,200. Good evening, Patriots. I am Perla Munoz Hopkins, running to be your next lieutenant governor of the great state of Texas. You are the stronghold here in Bastrop, so thank you very much for putting on this amazing event and for all the hosts and moderators. I serve as a speaker, a policy, education, and parental rights advocate as a volunteer because I was just minding my own business, being a teacher in the Leander Independent School District, hoping that my children would continue their quality education. My husband had just retired from the Air Force in 2017, and that is just not the joyous next chapter in our lives that I thought was coming. I was kicked out of the Leander Independent School District school board meeting because how dare I speak up for our children? And it was over the pedophilia-driven books. As a teacher, I know better than what is effective instructional materials and what is not. So it has embarked me on a journey where I've had to take off my teacher hat, my mom hat, and become political driven. I chose the Republican Party because we will fight for our family, our faith, our freedom, our liberty, and most of all, our Christian foundation. We are at a pivotal time right now in Texas where we are facing domestic and national threats, also Sharia law. So I want to express to you my 3 priorities, and they are to eliminate property taxes, to reform our education system, and number 3, Texas is not for sale. So those are all broad topics because there is no reason we should be number 40 ranked in education, and most of us Texans are struggling to pay our property taxes.
Question here. We'll try to get a few questions in. One question, what would you do differently than the current lieutenant governor as the president of the Texas Senate when attempting to get your legislative priorities adopted?
Yes, since I started wearing a political hat back in 2019, the Republican Party of Texas priorities pretty much are the same. Who is tired of legislative session after legislative session, and we're still working on securing our border, making sure that our children are not sexualized in Texas schools, making sure that we are working ahead with the AI data centers and the water conservation concerns. As I've been on the campaign trail, I've also signed on to the Denounce Care pledge. I personally have gone to the state senators and the state house members to sign the pledge where we will not tolerate any unconstitutional practices, any Sharia courts that are in existence here in the state. And I am just tired of begging for legislation to be written and considered by the lieutenant governor. That is one of the main responsibilities. Every bill goes through the desk of the lieutenant governor. Some of them don't even make it onto the Senate's agenda because we are playing games at the expense of Texas veterans, of Texas children's, and of Texas families. I have examples of the bills that I've worked on, which include anything from addressing the fentanyl crisis, eliminating our property taxes, medical freedom. I'm sorry, is that the stop button? Oh, I'm sorry. And especially protecting women and children. I have worked on the Women's Privacy Act, making sure that we're advocating that no men should be in our private spaces. I have worked to make sure that the Reader Act and all the legislation that is written with so many loopholes gets tackled each and every single session.
Another question that was submitted here says, do you believe that the lieutenant governor should be traveling overseas to conferences such as Davos? And should Texas taxpayers pay for those trips?
You will never see me in Dubai, in Davos, not even in Hollywood, California. I have said 3 times in my life that I have lost confidence in our leaders to lead. That was my supervisor, my principal at my children's high school in Leander. He took off and went and caused other mess at Belton ISD. Second one is the superintendent of the Leander Independent School District. It just so happens that the day that I filed to run for this office, he put in his retirement paperwork. And number 3, I have lost all confidence in our lieutenant governor to lead. I would not be leaving the state of Texas on any kind of business, regardless of title that I have been given, especially to go to the World Economic Forum. Thank you.
Got time for one more question here. Over the last several years, there's been a push by casino interests to expand gambling in Texas. What are your thoughts on those efforts?
It is still not clear. There's accountability lacking in the office of the lieutenant governor. Transparency is lacking. And if you look at the financial records, there's a lot of talk about the Sands Casino. I don't believe that it is in the business of Texas to be considering expanding gambling and the casino business when we have the Texas lottery that we can, really go through and improve. That's an amazing system that we already have. When I travel throughout the United States, let's take Albuquerque, New Mexico. You will see casinos at almost every corner. And there is crime, homeless crisis, drug crisis, and I've had enough just traveling in between Austin and Leander and seeing the crisis that we're already facing. So before we expand any kind of initiatives, we must always have a needs assessment, recommendations, best practices, and solutions, and have long-term planning before we consider giving our funds and our systems to special interest groups, because I think that's what's been going on here.
Thank you so much. Perla Hopkins, thank you. That's all the time we have for this section.
Oh, thank you.